Hello, everyone. This is my final project. I am going to first show you the two forms that I created, and then I can show you the code behind it, and then I'll show you the code and how it actually works. So this is a design that I went with. My basis, the requirements, we had to have two forms, and I created a student login page, but more for the admin. So like a teacher login page they'd be able to put in a username, a password, the ability to show the password, and then be able to log in to the page. And you'd be able to see right here all the student information. You can search the students up here with this little search button, and then we have the add student name, we have student grade level, student attendance, and then student score. These are all some of the variables that I have. I'm using add student, remove student, or another button that I have. So let's go to the code first. Okay, so this is my login form. The first thing, so instead of just having the initialize component, I also have the login page load. So this is a function that I created that is going to have all the passwords. Once you put the password word in or whatever, it has little stars, asterisks, instead of normal, just the actual words. So this is also one of my exception handlers. So we're going to try use the text box password, which is what I named it, and the password char, it's going to be true. So this will start with the page with the password covered. If that does not work, if there's some kind of error in the code, this will show the message box is going to pop up. An error has occurred loading on this page. Try again. And then message box, okay. So you're going to have to make sure the name is error, and you're going to have to make sure that you press okay to leave it. Okay. And then the next thing I did was a private void check show pass. So this one has showed that the password has changed, and this is another function that I added in so whenever you press the button check show password, it'll actually show the password and reverses what it did earlier. So this is my first formal function for the requirements that I'm putting in. It's the login button, so it's also an event handler and what happens when you press that button. So this initiates it, and it's going to, we're going to hold some usernames and some passwords later on. So next, if the string is null or empty, so this means if there's any empty boxes, any spaces, or null comes up, then it will come back an error, and this will pop up. Please enter both username and password, and it's also going to be a warning as a name. I've been trying to develop more of my message box this time. And you also have to press the OK button. And then it returns, so this stops the code and doesn't keep on going. Okay, and then next this is my arrays, one of my arrays that I'm using. So we have the usernames. I have admin, username 1, username 2, user 3, just as some basic logins as an example. And then we have the corresponding passwords. So 1, 2, 3, 4, very simple ones, just to show the functionality of it. Okay, next. So this is a for loop that I'm putting in. This loop will continue the complete entire length of the array, and it's going to move up by 1. So this is going to be able to be like, okay, so this student ID number or whatever is going to be start with 1 and then go up. And then if you remove something later, this is also going to help to make sure that it's in correlation. It doesn't show like 5 and not skip a number. So I'm putting in a if else. So if the text box username, the usernames, and the text and the passwords. So we're making sure that both of those are valid. And if both of those are valid, that's why I'm having the and. Then login successful. Then you have passed. Everything is going on. Also, what else I put in here? So this is if both the username and the password are correct. This will hide the login page first, and then it'll bring up the student page, and it's going to show a student page as like a dialog pop-up. And whenever it exits out the other one, the login page will come, and it's going to break the loop after the login if we exit out of that one. So, but what happens if if the username and the password are not correct? Then we have the else statement, and this is going to have a message box show up, and it's going to have invalid username or password. So that's all we really needed for that. And then we can go on to the student designer, not the student page, not the designer. I want the CS. Okay, so this is my student page form. So this is my second form for my requirements. And then we're going to start public student page. We're going to bring that up, initializes everything in this. And it's also going to load the student data. And I'll show that function later. So I need to create 5 different variable types that I have here. And so the 5 variables that I have are student ID. I have the name, the grade, the attendance, and I have the attendance. I don't need this anymore. And then I have a score. I also made sure that they were different. So I have an integer for the student ID with numbers, string, which is a name, and then the string grade. So this is going to be like 10th grade, or TH is going to be able to add to it. That's why I did the string instead of just an integer. I did an attendance as an integer, and then double for the score, so that we could hold decimal points that can be as accurate as possible. Breaking down this is my public class, so this is something that I want to be available everywhere, something we're referring to a lot. And if I needed to build this out, we can, and it's public. So we have first the student. I have first the variable type. It's all public first, and then I have the variable type, and then it goes into the name of the variable. This right here, the get and the set. The get is going to get the information that we're putting in, or it's going to get whatever that I place down here. And then it's going to set that, and it's going to store it to a value so that we can access it later. And that's what I'm doing over and over for all the 5 variables. So next, I wanted to be able to actually create some examples of the students that I had. And then from there, I wanted to be able to add and remove. So first is an example of one I did. I love Game of Thrones, so I put all of them in there. So you have the student ID that comes first. Each one of them has that number, then their name, and then a grade, and then an attendance. So this is just an integer with, a whole number. And then I put decimal points as the last ones. And these are just 10 basic students that I'm putting in this. And so we can search them up as well. And now we're going to these are my functions. So, okay, wait, hold on. So those were not functions. I'm just declaring those, and that's my list. But one of my functions right here is load student data. And this is the data grid student is the name of my data grid. And then the null is going to clear out that grid. And then from the data source. So this is the data source or anything else that I add to it. So, and then the second line, data grid student, data source, equals student. So it's going to place those students, every one that I made earlier, or placed in here in this section, will then be loaded in there. So this is going to help whenever I am trying to add a new student or remove a student. This is going to reload everything that I have just added in there. These are my base 10, but they can be added or removed. Okay. The next thing that I did was, so I have the student search button, certain search box, text box that people can put in, and then the search button correlating with that. This is my second function for this event, for this program. So I'm going to include 2 instances of exception handling. And the first exception, so this is my second exception that I did. The first one was in my login page. This exception, so first I'm going to try and receive everything in my string, which is a name, search, text. It's going to grab those and it's going to trim out first any white space. And then if it's empty or null or any white space, then it's going to load the student data again and return. So nothing, basically nothing was really searched, so they don't really need anything in it. Next, down, so this is still part of it. So list the students, filter students, the list of the students is being called, and only the student related items can be added. It's just making sure that nothing outside of that can be done. So first we're going to try this. If there is checks if there's an integer words and it converts it, and if it fails, then it's going to run false. So it's going to go through all the students in a loop, and it's going to check for the student ID. If we can find the student ID and we can and it matches with one that's already been correlated with, then that's going to pull up and it'll go to the list. Else, we want to make sure that if this is not happening, we will go through the names. So instead of going through student ID, it's going to go through the names. Oh my goodness. Okay. And then if neither one of those two are found, then a message box is going to pop up saying no matching students found, search result, try again. This is a name, is information. You had to press OK to leave. Next, we have what's going to happen to the data grid. So the data grid, again, I did this earlier. What's first occurs is we're going to clear out all the previous data, and then we're going to reload it in, which is, I could have put, instead of that, load student data, but I did it manually. So my next catch, in my exception handling, so it's first trying, and then my first catch is a format exception. So if someone didn't put in the right numbers or letters or anything like that, then we're going to have invalid input information. Please input a valid student name or ID. It's also going to have an error show up, and this also is going to have a message box okay and the error as a name, which is what that is. My second exception is if anything else goes wrong in the error, this is going to catch it, and it's going to say an unexpected error occurred, and error again as the name, and you're going to have to press OK. Okay. The data grid cell content click. So whenever, I didn't need this because this is just the data grid view. So this is my third function. This is what happens when you add a student. Yes, whenever you press the add student box, this is what happens. So we have the string name, text box, student text. There's going to be a grade, an attendance, and a double score. So it's going to call back to all of these text boxes that I created and the names that I did for those. Oops. And it's going to then first retrieve all this data, and then it's going to load it into a new student ID. So this right here, so we have all the text box that we're using, right? The double integer and the double are variable specific that we had to call back to that needed to be the same as earlier. And then we have an integer, and it's going to be a new student ID. And this new student ID means we're creating a new spot on the thing. It's going to be +1. So that means it's going to count from the last one. It'll be the most recent. And then we have student, new student. So this is going to create the actual new student variable. And it's going to compose of everything that we created for all the other students, which is a student ID, name, grade, attendance, and score. So once we finish with that, we're going to make sure that the student add the new student that we just created. So first, we retrieved all the data. We created it into one new object. We're going to add that object, and then we're going to load the student data again, which is what I did here. So I did it manually before. Now I'm using this function that I created. Oops, where are we? Okay, right. And then this is now going to clear out. The last thing we're going to do is clear out all the boxes. So instead of it just staying there, like John is not going to just stay there. Once we add it, it's going to clear out everything. And then it'll show that it's on the new in the data grid view box. So, and then this is my fourth function. And this is instance of the decision logic that I'm having in here. But this is what happens when you move. We're removing the student. Okay. So if we select, so we're going by selecting a row, which is easier because that's how it's displayed. So we'll just select the whole row, which is composed of all the information and the student beside the student ID. So it's going to first make sure that it's an integer and it's using the student ID and everything assigned with it. And it's going to then remove it. And then, so if it's null, so if we don't press anything and it's not correct, then it's going to go through this loop, which is it's going to count through and will update the student count box to make with the remove task, and then it's going to then add the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as we have, and then it's going to reload the load student data, which is a function I created earlier. So if this does not work, if there's not anything to remove from there, then we're going to use this else statement and tell them students not found, please select a student to continue. If the student wasn't found, so that's if like the ID doesn't match and we put like 10 or like 12 or 24 or 48, we don't have those numbers right now, and it will come back the student's not found. If nothing was selected, then this message box is going to show up saying that nothing, please select a student to remove. So that's my decision logic here. This is my fifth function. This is the button search click. So what happens when you search something and actually press the button? So we're going to grab the string from the search term in the box, and we're going to trim it. And if so it goes to lower, right? So this just means that if there's like any lowercase or uppercase that's not matching, that it'll just make it all lowercase so that everything matches and everything's kind of similar and we can search it easier. And so now if the string is null or white space, we've done this a lot. This is what happens when we ID you. It checks whether it's null, and then if it's not, we're going to load the student data, and then it's going to return. The return means we're stopping. We're not going to continue. So next we have the filtered students. This declares that we have filtered the students, and we're going through them. This is like the searching aspect. And then where we have the name right here. We also have the to lower again that we talked about earlier. And the search term also has a grade to lower search term, right? So this is making sure that we're filtering through everything. Nothing that has words in it or strings contains the to lower to make sure that we can read it. And this is going to call back to the list we made to make sure that everything is contained in there, or anything that we want to call is in that contained area. And then this again could have did the load student data. No, that is not what I did. Yes, it is. So it's going to filter through the students. So similar to what I did earlier, but it is going to clear everything out that hasn't been there. And then we're going to just go through the filtered students, which is what we created here. And this is what the final result was from the search that we did. I didn't need these. I practiced them. But this is just the text that I created for some of them. But yes, so in the next part, I will be putting how they actually fall. Okay, so first, this is my student page. You can see that we have the 10 students that I had earlier. If we wanted to search by grade, we could. These are all the 10th graders. 11th. Do by last name. Two students. Let's do by one number. Okay. So let's try adding a student. Well, first I'll remove a student. I'm going to add a student. 10th. We can look down here and see. Okay, and now that student is removed. Remove this. Now we just have 9. Okay, and so this is how my page works. Thank you.